Planet Dolan.
From riding on dusty windows to riding on the bottom of shoes, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from our subreddit about the best ways we've cheated on tests. Again? You filthy, dirty cheaters, I love you. I'm Hellbent, and today I'll be making mouth noises in your ear holes. Number 10 was submitted by Jorg Slade. Nixium's teacher was a pretty lazy and sleepy person. She said Nixium and his classmates could study for the first 10 minutes of class while she took a nap. While everyone else wrote cheat sheets, Nixium wrote on the teacher's forehead. During the test, she kept staring down at him while he stared at her forehead, looking at all the beautiful answers. Everyone who wrote simple cheat sheets got their test invalidated, but Nixium got away with it until the teacher looked in the mirror. Number 9 was submitted by Diamond Dog 15. Mikhailum figured out a genius way to cheat on a math test. What he did was simple. He wrote all the answers on tissues and carefully put them in the packet. On the day of the test, he pretended to have a cold, so his teacher let him get out his tissues. Every time he was stuck on a question, Mikhailum pretended to blow his nose and saw the answers on the tissue. No one suspected a thing. Number 8 was submitted by Ego Dram. Having traveled to the Middle East some years prior to university, Sid picked up on a little bit of Arabic. He wasn't exactly fluent, but he knew enough to write and understand some common phrases and short sentences. So a few days before a final exam, he found a piece of fancy tinted paper, wrote out quick answers and hints in Arabic with colored inks and a fancy calligraphy pen, making the cheat sheet look like a piece of fancy artsy calligraphy. He affixed it to the back of his notebook, and after putting his notebook on the floor like everyone else, Sid looked at it when he needed to, being fairly confident he was the only person in the room who could read it. Even if anyone did see it, Sid thought they probably wouldn't be able to understand it and just assume it was some obscure edgy artwork. He ended up getting an A, as in a cheating asshole. Number 7 was submitted by Sir Swag. Dolop had fallen asleep many times before in class inside his hoodie that was 2 sizes too big for him. One night, before a midterm test, he decided to go to bed early instead of studying. On the way out the door, Dolop grabbed a hoodie and an extra t-shirt. He shoved the t-shirt into the hood and stuck his phone in the pocket. When he got to class, he started the test, and whenever the teacher wasn't looking, Dolop pulled his hood over his head and tucked his head inside. He then used the phone in the hoodie. To this day, he still uses that method and has never been caught. Number 6 was submitted by eTaxilo. Dolan sat next to a window in class and always had a habit of looking outside, daydreaming. This actually came in handy because the window glass was always dusty, so he could write a cheat sheet on it. If he leaned back just a little bit, the text wasn't visible even to him. Sure, it was a little strange that after watching people play football outside for 5 minutes, Dolan would suddenly know the answers to a math or physics exam, but he was never caught. He did manage to raise a few questions about cheating, and some teachers even asked him to leave the desk so they could examine it. Number 5 was submitted by White Fox 1992. Ghost Toast never did it himself, but his father told him about how 2 kids cheated in class in the 70s. The 2 kids would always buy size 15 white shoes before every test. They would write the answers on the bottom of their shoes and sit cross-legged so they could see the answers written on the bottom of the other one's shoe. If they were believed to be cheating, they would put their feet on the ground and ask the teacher to prove that they had a cheat sheet. Number 4 was submitted by Levy Minus. Spinal Palm has a slightly severe form of autism and very severe ADHD. When he was in school, he needed to have his sketchbook where he drew anime and manga on his desk at all times for comfort. However, when he heard his class would be having a final exam, he flipped. Since Spinal Palm sucked at memorizing, he just had a huge 11x14 drawing of Asane Miku. The catch was that he drew it with words. He spent hours going through his textbook and creating a pretty but kinda blocky Miku. The teachers didn't think twice about it, and because he stared at things while he thought, looking at his sketchbook seemed normal. The best part is the teachers glanced at the drawing, with one even saying you did great work. No one suspected a thing, and Spinal Palm passed the class with an A. Number 3 was submitted by Mexi Asian Panda. When Snoopy was in 2nd grade, she had a test that didn't make any sense to her or her friend Gooby. So they decided to create a really clever plan to cheat. They wrote math problems on the back of Snoopy's tie-dye t-shirt in colors only Gooby could see and not the teacher. Gooby copied off of it because she sat right behind her and she gave Snoopy a signal as to what the answer was. The signaling system was cough twice for A, cough 3 times for B, sneeze plus cough was C, and sneeze plus cough twice was D. It worked, but their teacher might have been onto them because she gave them the scariest look ever. Number 2 was submitted by Phoebe Bang. Doopy used to cheat on her exams for music theory because it was basically all Italian words, and she never felt like studying the list of words that she would probably never use again. So Doopy would just bend over her paper so her hair would fall to the sides of her head like little curtains. She could see through her hair, but anyone around her couldn't, so from that position, Doopy could basically look at the other people's papers and was never caught. The only thing that would happen a couple of times during the exams was her teacher saying that she had to sit straight, but when she wasn't paying attention to her anymore, Doopy would do it again. What was the best way I've ever cheated on a test? Well, in English class, I had a teacher who was just as lazy as I am, so I paid a student next to me to do my test for me. It was $1 for each test, and he'd fuss up the answers a bit so I'd get a bit of a lower score, but the teacher didn't care. And that's why I'm not allowed to write for Planet Dolan. I'm half literate. I have Microsoft Sam read these scripts to me. And once I find a text-to-speech app that sounds like me, I can be an even bigger fraud. Huge thanks for the folks over on our Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories. We have another question for you. What's the most irrational fear you have? Let us know in the Reddit page linked below and you might be featured in a future countdown.
This video was made possible by our fans over on Patreon. Thanks for your support, guys.
And that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time, you filthy cheaters.